So tonight was big news in NBA world, especially for Canada, I would think, because the Toronto Raptors made the NBA Finals. Most of us here in the U.S. have never heard of them. Toronto's in Canada. They play basketball? I thought they play hockey only. But they made it. So I was reading about it. I saw that Kawhi Leonard, I actually don't know how to pronounce his name, scored 27 points, pulled in, I don't know, 17 rebounds, and it was very amazing. Is that a lot? 27? It seems like people make more, right? I looked up LeBron James, claimed to be one of the best, or the best. He only averages high 20s. I guess that is a lot. And then I started looking into the highest scores by one player in one game, and there's a list of all these people. People in the 70s, 80s. I watched a little bit of Kobe Bryant scoring his 81 points. But all along the list was one person who just scored tremendous amounts of points on the list multiple times, and that was Wiltchamberlain. Obviously, he was at the top with 100 points. I don't know if I've heard about this 100-point game a long time ago or not, but just blows your mind. I mean, that's how much an entire team of 5 players, not just 5 players, you have a team of many more than 5 players because people rotate in and out. But basically, he scored 100 points. Isn't that crazy? I knew he was good. I mean, there's other greats up there like Larry Bird, but he is that good. And I watched a video and people recounting the time when he scored 100 points. They didn't have videos back then. They showed some, radio announcements, interview people who were there. But basically, it was just crazy. And you think about one person scoring that many points, one person by himself. At the end, they were feeding him, trying to get him to that 100 mark, and they did. But still. And I think about sports. Sometimes as I'm sitting here, waiting to go to bed, not really tired, I should go to bed, but I don't really want to. I hit upon this or that, and I watch more. Maybe it's a tennis match, and you watch how amazing certain plays are. Maybe another sport I don't know much about, but you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. But tonight is about basketball and about Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, he died in 1999. He died a while ago. I mean, this was in the 1960s. It was way long ago, before I was born. But it's just a thing of legends. And you can imagine talking to old timers who were there. Apparently, not many people were there in Hershey, Pennsylvania for the game. Only 4,000 so. Though many more claim to be there, apparently, because everybody wants to be there in an epic moment. But it's things like this that just make legend and give everybody a story. Some people can tell stories of almost anything. Many of them are what we call comedians. This is sort of their job, their occupation. They're good at making up stories. I heard about one guy who was sitting in the back, and he asked, when he was checking in, and the lady gave him a window seat. He's like, ma'am, I was wondering, do you mind changing me to seat further back? Oh, and what about that middle seat? Is it open? And she looks at him incredulously. And he explains, I'm a comedian looking for material. And so you know that he's going to be there, squished in, uncomfortable. But it's going to be great material for his next comedy routine. That's what comedians do. They look for material. That's what journalists do. They look for stories. They put themselves in interesting places, in dangerous places sometimes, because they got to have a good story. Remember one guy writing about his trip to Morocco, which was very unplanned and dangerous in a sense. Met some random strangers. They invited him to their sister's wedding. They didn't look like they were brothers. They said can't meet him off the train. He has to find his own way, meet him in another place. A random stranger says, "You shouldn't be going around with strange men," and leaves. Is that a word from God? They take him to Middle Desert, and he thought, well, I've gotten this far, I might as well go all the way, right? And lo and behold, they reach a tent, open it, and there's a gigantic party going on. And he has the most marvelous time dancing and drinking till early morning. All random. But he's a journalist. Of course he could write a good story. You may have somebody else who just tells about how weird they were, and you're like, how is this a fun story? But the thing about these legends, these epic events, these records, is that everybody who's there has a story to tell. It actually equalizes us. Because the thing is, some people can make great stories out of nothing. Some people make great stories out of great stories, when we say that's not that hard. But some people don't know how to make great stories. But when they're describing an event that you wish you were there, you've heard about, and they were there, well, it automatically is interesting. It's good. And that's the thing. You may go to a concert and people say, how was the band? You're like, oh, they're good. You know how sometimes you think they're not as good in person as they are on the radio, whatever. Yeah, they're pretty good. Just conversational. Nothing special. Not a great story. Somebody may have gone to another concert. Like, yeah, when they came on, I was wondering if it was going to rain. It's like they have all this nice equipment, right? What would they do? And then you go look at them, you're like, oh, did this guy drink too much last night? And then they start playing and the world fades away. You forget his haggard appearance, the fact that he's 30 years past his prime. You're transported back to, when we were in college. Remember back in those days when this band was popular and when everybody wanted to get in? And we were poor college students who couldn't afford tickets. And finally, I'm here having enough money that I can afford to travel and buy these $500 tickets. And you know what? Maybe they aren't what they were before. Maybe they're not at their prime, but neither am I. But we both meet each other there, 30 years too late, like lost lovers. Lovers who are separated by some misfortune, some unfortunate circumstance. But we made it. And I could sit there enjoying, relaxed, just listening to the music. And it was all worth it. I mean, time machines aren't available for those of us commoners. Maybe they have secret ones every here and there, and I don't know who gets to use it. Maybe the billionaires. But this was basically a time machine. And those memories in the past that you think about? You know how we say memories fade with time, like old photos? The sun shining out over the years, everything's sort of washed out. Well, this was a fresh new print sitting out there for you. A memory that was like it happened yesterday. Reliving the college days. The good old days. You remember, right? I mean, some people tell good stories, and it is definitely a skill. But you could hear the excitement in the announcer's voice. And he counted 80, and he says, wow, this is so stupid. I count 80, he didn't even bother respecting the fact that I was counting 80. He just went ahead and scored 81, 82. It's like, what is happening? And you could just hear people's voices. You feel like you were there, even though this was 1963? Almost 60 years ago? But that's legends nowadays for you. the real epic.